Hello, guys. So the purpose of this quick video is to go over 5 exercises, flexibility assessment exercises to test your range of motion. So the first one off is going to be your neck. So what I want you to do, have paper and pencil ready, and you're just going to jot down which side is tighter. So bringing your one ear to elbow, and then bring the other ear to elbow. So you're assessing the scalene length. So whichever side is a little bit tighter, that's the area where you need to use a lacrosse ball or a Theracane or even your fingertips just to apply some pressure into the traps, into the upper back and the shoulders, just to relieve some tension through that scalene. Remember, there's a lot of nerves that go up and down the cervical spine, so just be gentle when you apply the pressure into that area. The next one is rotation. So taking your head and turning towards your shoulder, and then assessing again which way has greater range of motion. Remember, the biggest thing is not rotation through the trunk, it's just rotation through your neck. Whichever side is a little bit tighter to rotate to, you're generally restricted by a lot of the trapezius and upper back muscles, in addition to some scalene stretches. But as far as trigger point, you want to target the traps that will impair your range of motion in the neck. Last and final for the neck is being able to nod up and down. So usually chin to chest is the easiest one, not so bad. But looking up and extending the spine is usually harder for most people because we are heavily internally rotated with the shoulders. There's maybe some shoulder elevation, maybe there's just some slumping in the spine, and so then looking up is a little bit more difficult. So the area of opportunity to foam roll would be to lay on your back and roll the upper half of your spine. So probably from where my hand is here to about the top of the shoulders. Remember, never rolling on the neck because there's just too many bones and nerve endings in through here, not too much soft tissue. So rolling the upper back is what's going to help in starting to straighten the spine, extend, and be able to lengthen through the neck. Your second stretch is going to be your shoulders. This is always a fun one. So take your hands out to the side. Without any squiggling or scooting, I want you to put one hand under, one hand over, and see how closely your fingertips can meet. So I can grab probably the first 2 fingers or so, reset, and then you do, I can barely touch on this side. So this is my tighter side. So whatever hand is up on top of your tighter side, that is the side that you need to foam roll your lat more. And whatever hand is on the bottom, that is the side that you need to roll more with a lacrosse ball, or with your foam roller, you need to roll the pec minor, pec major, the shoulder, in addition to the lat still, but it's essentially restriction by the lat. The hand can just not elevate enough and bend. It could also be restricted by some tightness through the tricep as well. But biggest culprit is usually the lat. And then inability of the shoulder to be able to retract fully because we're pulled so much into an internal rotation on that one side. I write with my right. I do so much with my right. I rotate a lot to my left because of injuries and other things going on my left. So that's no surprise to me that that is my weaker side, tighter side. If you're tighter on both sides, just can't touch hands, then you roll the left, you roll the right, you roll the left, you roll the right. Your third one is going to be your hamstring flexibility. So pretty straightforward. This is one where I will usually measure with clients with a tape measure, but for purposes for us, all I want you to do, feet 12 o'clock. And then I want you just to, keeping a neutral pelvis, just raise one leg up. Sometimes you can take a selfie video or a picture of yourself and just track how high your leg goes if you're unable to measure. So if you're feeling pretty even, both left and right, or if your leg cannot extend past this point without bending the knee, then definitely area of opportunity is to roll the medial hamstrings. Remember, you can always sit on the roller 2 legs. Progression would be rolling one leg, roll to the outside, roll to the inside, but that's usually how you would roll those hamstrings. Second one would be to sit on your sit bones, pull the butt cheeks back, curl the toes up, and then simple assessment is being able to reach and touch those toes. However, there is a lot of other muscles going on. You can be restricted by tightness in the calf, restricted by tightness in the glutes, tightness in the back, as to whether or not you are able to reach your toes. That's probably an assessment more of everything in the posterior chain. not just the hamstrings, but it's still a very valid test just to test the back of the legs. Your fourth exercise is going to be your quads and hip flexors. So this is an interesting one. Finding a flat bench or table, whatever you might have. I want you to be able to sit or lay on it with your leg being able to dangle off and not touch the ground. Once you have done that, I want you to grab your right knee into your chest. I want you to find neutral pelvis. Draw the abs in, squeeze your left butt. Now, as you find your neutral pelvis, if your leg all of a sudden rises the moment you tuck the pelvis under, then I want you to reset, squeeze, and if that still happens again, extend the knee, fire the quad, squeeze the butt, and then try to let that leg continue to lower down. If that does happen, it tells me that you have relatively good hip flexor flexibility, and or if you automatically, as you hugged your knee, maintain neutral pelvis and your leg can just dangle off the side, nice long straight line, then you have relatively good hip flexor range of motion on that one side, and then you just assess the other. However, if when you tuck the pelvis under and that leg, that femur, all of a sudden went up as soon as you tried to maintain neutral, and when you extend the knee and squeeze that quad and that leg just cannot continue to go down, then that does tell me that you have tightness in your hip flexor, and or as you are laying on your back and you have a bend in your knee and this leg cannot come down to the ground like so, then again, you have tightness in the hip flexor on that one side or both. So areas to foam roll would be for sure TFL, the internal external rotator of the hip, deep into the adductors, the external rotators of the glutes, a lot of the quad, so tops of the thigh, but really getting into the top part of the leg. Your other quad exercise flexibility assessment is merely laying on your stomach, pubic thrown into floor, and then being able to pull a heel towards your glute without arching the low back or raising the hips up where there's gap now in order to get that heel closer, right? If you cannot bend the knee very far, then it tells me that you are restricted by the quad. Another good one would be having a support nearby and or pulling a knee, a heel towards your glute. You could always do this laying on a side. Laying on a side, you're less likely to arch your low back in order to pull the heel closer to your butt. Biggest thing to look for is as you were doing this, the more you can squeeze this butt cheek, the more that you are really lengthening that quad and you're really kind of testing to see where's that range of motion. But the moment I let go of my butt cheek, I can pull that heel so much more. So if you're already pretty flexible, squeeze the butt cheek and that'll make that stretch a lot harder and really test and see where your range of motion is. But either way, if you have some tight quads, obviously your answer is roll the tops of the quads. Cross friction, roll inside, roll outside, circles, make different patterns. All right, moving on to your glutes. Making a number 4. So cross one leg over. Remember, I like to bring a knee to the chest, focus on lengthening the ischial tuberosity, really focusing on how far that knee can come to the chest and feel the length through here. It's not about how much that you are pushing away and pulling in. Pushing away, you are going to minimize your glute stretch. So you really want to focus on how much you can pull in. Once you have done your left and right and assessed, I want you to also test your QL. So cross the leg, keep one leg down on the ground, arm to the side, and just let your legs just drop to one side. And I'll show you the other way. And depending on left and right, assess whether or not you have any tightness in your QLs, in your obliques. Everything's all interconnected from the neck to the shoulder, to the lats, to the hips, to the knees and the ankles. So just assess which side on the low back might be a little bit tighter. Whatever side might be a little bit tighter, that's always going to make the opposite side work harder, work more overtime. So you'll start to understand why one side, you might have all this extra range of motion, but it's always so tight, so restricted. You just can't ever get it to calm down. Well, maybe understand because it's restricted, the other side's not letting it. So let me know how you do. Take those 5 exercises, apply it, and then we'll reassess in 4 weeks and see where your range of motion is and how much that we have improved. My area of opportunity, my goal for myself is going to be more mobility through my shoulders. This is the one, you know, I'm not as happy. I wish I had more range of motion through my shoulders. So that is my own personal goal. Let me know what your challenge is, and I will see you next time.